The Mythic banner for May is upon us, and as usual it features a starting 8% 5-star focus rate with a permanent 0% non-focus 5-star rate. Any 5 stars you get are guaranteed to be one of these 12 heroes, but it may be hard to get one specific unit, so be aware. We'll be going over the 11 units on this banner briefly, and we'll talk about our brand new Mythic hero. Mythic Ashera is finally here. The Goddess of Order from Radiant Dawn is ready to take on her counterpart Yoon, the Goddess of Chaos. This is the same Ashera from Altina's Ashera's Chosen A skill. To match with her chosen hero, Ashera will also be an Astra Mythic hero, and she will grant bonus resistance to Astra Blessed heroes. As a unit, Ashera will be a Colorless infantry mage, and she's got some neat tricks up her sleeves. For old skills, Ashera will have Glaciers as her special, and from the trailer it looks like Ashera is going to have pretty high base res to match. She will also have low speed and res 3, which perhaps signifies that Ashera will be a somewhat faster mage. For her unique tome, Ashera has Order's Sentence, which has one of the best animations in the game for sure. It basically matches her Judgment Smite from the heavens that we see in a Radiant Dawn cutscene. Now for its effect, Order's Sentence grants a flat +3 attack. At the start of combat, if Ashera has more than 25% HP or she has a bonus active on her, then she gets +5 total stats, and she gains bonus attack equal to the number of total bonuses on the ally with the highest total bonuses within 2 spaces. In general, very simple weapon to activate. Ashera just needs to be healthy or have a bonus active. Besides the general stat boost, Ashera then gets a Bladetome effect, except instead of using the field buffs on herself, she uses the field buffs on her nearby allies. Important to note, it only calculates the highest total number of field buffs from one single ally. Ashera can't pick and choose to get a higher attack bonus. You can kind of think of this effect like Erica's Siglet and Refine, except instead of buffing all stats independently, Ashera is just throwing everything into attack like a Bladetome. Luckily, since she uses the buffs on her allies, lows and panics don't really affect Order's Sentence. Obviously, Ashera can lose her own field buffs to a low skill, but if her allies are fully buffed up, then Order's Sentence will continue adding one big attack boost. Unfortunately, if Ashera's allies get panicked, then Order's Sentence would be in trouble, similar to Erica. However, the Goddess of Order is well prepared. For her unique C skill, Ashera has Order's Restraint. At the start of the turn, grant +6 attack and res and no panic to allies within 2 spaces for 1 turn. Additionally, at the start of the turn, if 3 or more allies are within 2 spaces of Ashera, she also gets the same +6 attack and res buff and no panic. What is no panic? This is a brand new status effect that neutralizes the panic effect of converts bonuses on target into penalties. Now, as I'm making this video, I'm not 100% sure as to how no panic actually works, but my assumption is that it does hard counter the panic status by completely getting rid of the negative field buffs panic applies at all times. In the past, one counter to panic is getting rid of it via penalty neutralization skills, things like Restore Plus or Harsh Command Plus. However, the biggest issue is that this only really helps for player phase moves where you cleanse panic, then attack. Typically, if you cleanse the panic status then waited when the enemy phase starts, their panic skills would just reapply panic and your unit would be screwed. My assumption is that since no panic is itself a status effect, it stays on the unit, so when the enemy reapplies panic, it's gonna still negate its effects, and units get to keep their field buffs intact. If this is how it works, then no panic is gonna be really good if you're afraid of panic, and for Ashera, obviously it means she gets to feed off of her allies' field buffs to power her Bladetome effect. Now there is one side effect of no panic in that the panic status is gonna remain on your unit as a penalty. It isn't actually doing anything, but this does matter for skills that work on if the unit has a penalty on them. Let's look at one example of where this can happen. Brunja is a somewhat popular unit for dealing with heavy debuffing enemies or panic because her Fimbolverter tome can negate stat penalties. If we have a normal Brunja with a +6 field buffs to all stats, but she has the panic status on her, then the end result would be 0 field buffs, but +4 in combat buffs. The reason for this is that panic turns the +6 field buffs into -6, and then Fimbolverter ignores that -6 completely. Brunja is going to lose her field buffs, but she doesn't go negative, and Fimbolverter adds +4 to all stats when she has a penalty on her. Now, the same situation, but this time Brunja has no panic. The end result would be +6 field buffs and +4 in combat buffs for a total of +10 to all stats. Unlike last time, no panic should neutralize the panic status, so Brunja actually keeps her +6 field buffs. This is great, but if panic is neutralized, then shouldn't Fimbolverter not give its +4 stat boost? Well, no panic states that the panic status remains as a penalty. Even though it's not doing anything, this is gonna actually, or it should benefit Brunja since it activates Fimbolverter. While this is a beneficial interaction, it can work against you as well. For example, the enemy skills that need active penalties will still proc. Fittingly, Mythic Yoon gets bonus attack and a follow-up attack against foes with penalties on them. Even if Ashera nullifies Panic, Yoon would still activate her tome, so you still need to be careful. Regardless, generally speaking, No Panic is very good if you depend on field buffs like any Bladetome user. I am assuming No Panic isn't just negating the stat penalties in combat, because otherwise that would just be kind of pointless, especially for Ashera's playstyle. Moving on, Ashera does bring one new inheritable skill, Attack and Res, ideal 4. At the start of combat, if unit is at full health or has a bonus active, they get +7 Attack and Res during combat. If they are full health and have a bonus active, then they get an extra +2 for a total of +9 Attack and Res. Still, some of new A skills, ideal skills, are inheritable by infantry and armored units. They work exceptionally well for Ashera because while she does give herself +6 attack and res as a field buff, more importantly, she can give herself No Panic, which I assume counts as a bonus. You can negate field buffs, but I don't think you can get rid of No Panic unless we start getting no Panic or no status effects of some kind. Overall, Mythic Ashera looks like quite the fun unit. Because of her weapon, she does need to play with her teammates to borrow their buffs for her Bladetome effect. This can hamper her offensive movements, but it's looking like Ashera is going to have decent attack and speed, so I think she'll be doing good damage without the Bladetome effect. While Order's Restraint is a very nice AoE attack and res buff, it is also stacking with Ashera's +5 res bonus on Astra Blessed allies. If you need res buffs for Astra season, Ashera is who you want, not to mention she gives the extra team slot if you don't want to run Reagan. Order's Restraint is great for that general res boost, but in 8th raids you see that Panic Tower everywhere, so you should get a lot of use out of No Panic as well. Like we saw with Brunja, No Panic is super good on units who can neutralize stat penalties because then they can get rid of regular stat debuffs and keep field buffs active. I'm not sure if Ashera herself will be a good general tank since I imagine her defense stats going to be taking a hit. However, she should do just fine against mages and she can give herself No Panic as well. If she can soak one hit, then Ashera should be able to use the bonus attack from her weapon to hopefully just smite whoever dares attack her. With her C skill, that should give +12 total bonuses on her allies, but if you can get speed and defense buffs, then that number is only going to grow. I'm definitely thinking of trying to get Ashera for myself, and it's looking like quite a good time to summon. Now let's talk about the 11 other heroes joining Ashera. For red we have Legendary Eliwood, Legendary Roy, and Azelle. Blue has Peony, Legendary Azura, and Ronan. Green has Freyja, Triandra, and Dedue. Last you can get Mythic Ashera with Legendary Claude and Legendary Corrin. Very strong Colorless group. Starting with Legendary Eliwood, he's a Sword Cavalier whose Ardent Durando can provide bonus doubler as a status to the ally with the highest attack stat. His Vision of Arcadia also provides attack and defense buffs to that same ally, and he comes with Rally Speed and Res Plus to fully take advantage of bonus doubler. Very unique supportive kit if you want to super buff up a high attack unit. Eliwood also has Death Blow 4 if you're looking for maximum player phase damage. Next is Legendary Roy, who's a sword infantry with a good balance of stats. His Dragon Bind is a distant counter sword with dragon effectiveness, and Human Virtue lets Roy buff himself and adjacent allies with +6 attack and speed if they aren't a dragon or beast unit. I really like Legendary Roy for his super simple buffing capabilities, and I think Ashera will be in a similar boat in terms of utility. Roy even has bonus doubler himself, and I don't think it's coincidence that we have 2 bonus doubler units on the banner with Ashera who's introducing No Panic. Assuming No Panic completely hard counters Panic, then keeping field buffs in tank, Ashera is going to go very well with bonus doubler type units. Last is red for Azelle. He's a red infantry mage with good offensive stats. His Sparking Tome grants more speed, inflicts -6 speed and res debuffs, and if the foe has speed or has field buffs, Azelle will inflict more in-combat debuffs to counteract those buffs. It's almost like having a No Panic effect for speed and res stats, but obviously No Panic's not going to be able to stop it since Sparking Tome is simply applying more debuffs during combat. If you're not careful, Azelle can dish out a lot of damage. Now, he also comes with 4 amazing fodder skills, Rally Up Speed Plus and Speed and Res Ruse 3, making an annoying support combo. Azelle is the only unit with the tier 4 red dual infantry skill, if that interests you. Last, Giant Hone Speed is great for some self-buffing and team buffing. Red isn't too bad in terms of units and fodder skills. Moving on to blue, we have Peony, who everyone can get for free from book 4. She is a dancer that grants +3 stats and the warping status when she dances an ally, plus she spreads those benefits and an AoE around them as well. She can provide long range attack and speed buffs, and Fortify Res 4 grants that big +7 res field buff. For mobility and arena scoring purposes, Peony's then going to have blue dual flying 3 and aerobatics 3. Second is Legend Azura, and despite getting a whole year's worth of Mythic dancers, I still think many would consider Azura to be the strongest dancer in the game. She is literally everywhere in PvP, one of the best units in PvE, and one of the few units who I would say everyone should have at least one copy of. Azura's main strength is her ability to give infantry and flyers one extra space after dancing them, although she can also spread the highest foot buff on her danced target to all of their stats. For example, attack tactics +6 attack buff would be spread out to give the ally +6 to all 4 stats after getting danced. If you would instead prefer getting blue dual flying 3 and aerobatics, Azura has those 2 skills as well. Last, we got Ronan, a blue infantry archer. He has a somewhat unique stat line with good speed and actually the highest base res stat in the game. His indignant bow grants more flat res while also giving Ronan +6 attack and inflicting -6 attack on the foe. Additionally, he can neutralize debuffs to his attack stat and neutralize the foe's attack buffs. To go with this, Ronan is the sole wielder of Swift Stance 3, which is the dual stance focus on speed and res. He has joint drive speed for more speed buffs and rally speed and res buffs to buff up his allies. Suffice it to say, but Ronan's a crazy magic damage dueler. He definitely needs Mystic boost to fight dragons because of his awful base defense stat, but trying to take him out with a mage is going to be a tough endeavor. Moving on to green, we have Mythic Freyja, who's a green beast cavalry unit. I believe she's still the fastest unit in the game, and her Nightmare Horn comes with built-in dodge and distant counter. Freyja needs that damage reduction though, because her base defense and res are on the low side. Her Binding Neck and Speed skill works if Freyja is alone and grants +2 to all stats while inflicting -2 to all of the enemy stats. If the foe has field buffs active, Freyja is then gonna basically steal those buffs for herself while negating them on the foe, so it's another type of panic ability that no panic can't really stop. Freyja is then going to have attack and speed solo 4 for tons of damage output, and pulse smoke with decreased special cooldown of nearby foes. Second, we have Mythic Triandra, who's a green mage flying dancer. She's kind of like Peony, but instead of buffing allies, Triandra focuses on debuffing foes and applying guard in a similar way to the Ruse B skills. She can provide long range support if you line her up with the enemy. Triandra does come with some offensive tools in attack and speed push 4 and speed and res rain 3. She even has aerobatics for mobility among her teammates. Last up is the Wall of the Blue Lions, Dedue. He's an X armor unit and with some of the highest attack and defense stats in the whole game, with his HP and res stats not being too bad either. Dedue does have the inheritable Steadfast X+, which is just the X version of last year's spring weapons, like the Carrot Cudgel. If your user is within 2 spaces of an ally, grants +5 attack and defense and neutralize stat debuffs to their attack and defense stats. If you want more attack and defense, Dedue has Sturdy Stance 3 and the rare attack and defense near save C skill for army units. I'm sure we'll see a ton of these coming this year, but if you want the attack and defense variant, Dedue is currently the only holder. In terms of units and fodder, green is certainly a good choice to summon up. Last is Colorless, starting with Mythic Ashera. She's bringing attack and res ideal to the game, so if you want that specific skill, then you're gonna need to get her. Ashera also has low speed and res, which is great for faster magic damage dealers. If you plan on getting Ashera, this may be the best time to try it because Legendary Claude is making his first return. Claude is a super oppressive colorless flying archer with fantastic offensive stats. Fail Not grants faster specials, +5 to all stats, and no follow up, which is incredibly good with Fallen Star, which provides 80% damage reduction on one hit when he initiates. It basically makes Claude almost impossible to take out if you let him to attack first, since no follow up stops any quick post type skills and 80% damage reduction is just dumb. To make things worse, after combat, Fallen Star is going to give Claude a status that lets him take another hit and reduce it by 80%. He then inflicts gravity on the foe and any allies within one space. Not only does Claude have good damage output and tons of damage reduction, but AoE gravity is so annoying to deal with, and if Claude isn't dead, it only makes it hard to deal with him and his team during your turn. Basically, letting Claude initiate is a death sentence unless you got a Deadeye Archer or some kind of brave weapon, and thankfully if you can reach him first, he's much more manageable. As for inheritable skills, Claude has attack and speed catch 4 and speed and defense rain 3. Both are great skills for fast damage dealers. Last, we have the legendary female Corrin, who is no slouch herself. She's a colorless infantry dragon with a crap ton of base stats, and her Negating Fang special gives damage reduction against both ranged and melee foes while also boosting Corrin's counterattack damage. She has Shield Pulse to instantly charge it, and Primordial Breath can recharge Negating Fang since it has extra special cooldown charge. It also gives +5 to all stats, so with distant counter, legendary Corrin is kind of annoying to deal with as well. However, damage reduction from the special skill is interesting because of the counters to damage reduction effects actually don't really work on specials, with Young Innis, Dual Leaf, and Deadeye Archers paving the way for more anti-damage reduction skills this year. Negating Fang does keep some good value. One issue it has is against guard abilities, but Corrin can still at least partially charge it back up. Sustain is also a problem, but Corrin can use the Mystic Boost Sacred Seal to give herself some long-term healing. In terms of fodder, Distant Counter is always amazing, and you can get it with Chill Pulse or the more universal Joint Drive Attack. It should be quite clear that the Colorless group is absolutely amazing if you want to get Ashera right now. Legendary Claude and Corrin are both strong units with great fodder if you have unwanted extras. That's going to be it for now. Very excited to see Ashera make her appearance, and I like her playstyle with no panic and the ally-based Bladetome effect. Bladetomes kind of have had rough recently because low skills are super prevalent now, and panic has always been an issue. Ashera actually can bypass those problems to still get an insane attack boost, although it does require her to utilize her allies. I think she'll be fine without the boosted Bladetome damage, but you can't have too much attack these days, and her C-skill does provide a rather convenient +6 attack and res team buff that ignores panic. It does not stop field buff neutralization, but we're finally getting some countermeasures for field buff users, especially since the Aether Raid's panic structure is super powerful. I will probably be trying to get a copy myself, or at least hopefully get a Legendary Claw on the side. Let me know your thoughts on Mythic Ashera, and I'll see you guys in the next video.